got a call from Tracy Moore, who was the chair of the musical theater department at the Hartt School. And she called asking if I had any students that could help them to film their shows, or at least scenes, because they had no audience to perform to because of COVID restrictions. So I hooked her up with some students and it went really well. And then her and I started talking a little more and we said, why don't we turn this into a class? Because we both believe that this is something that's not going to go away with COVID, right? We're going to continue to film theater from here on out. So we talked a little more and we set up a class over the Christmas break and we developed the video production performing arts class. And so their musical theater class works with our video production performing arts students to make the film.
Just start picking up everything you can.
Small details.
Okay, everything. Tights, slides, just get in the middle of them while they're flying around you, all that stuff. Okay. This time when we do it, you'll get Mario at the beginning, but then you'll be second back out there.
Yep.
You gotta do one up in the right too. But take him for
The challenge is always it's a unique situation because we have never done this kind of filming before. We embedded onto the stage with this production, where most of the time when you film theater, you're out in the audience just filming the show. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to be on the stage with the actors. So the first challenge was teaching the students how to actually be within. And the next challenge was worrying about people who were quarantined. So we had a couple of instances where students became quarantined, and when you only have 9 students in the entire class due to COVID restrictions, it's difficult to lose 1 or 2 of them. So there's a challenge right there. Another challenge is that we have all the restrictions that COVID restrictions for the dancers and singers. Singers had to be masked, and they had to be 8 feet apart from each other, and even when they're in motion. So it was always a challenge to try to figure out how to put people on the stage and still fit them all in shots. So there were challenges all around, but as we started to do it, it started to become a little more normal to us. When you guys start flying around, no, we have them set so that they're all side, center. So just where they're not quite sure how you're flying, yes. So the goals in the future are to create a minor or maybe even a major sometime, but starting with a minor, working with the Hartt School and the School of Communication at the University of Hartford to come together to make a minor in filmed theater or film performing arts. So that's what we're hoping to do in the future, and it's going well so far, so let's hope that it works out.
One apple, take 3.
I think it's really important to have these conversations. It covers a lot of topics that people are still afraid to talk about today: sex, teen pregnancy, abortion, depression, assault, abuse. Like, there's no shortage of topics that it covers. And I think it's really important to face these head on, which this show is definitely not afraid of doing. I mean, half the issues that occur in the show are because kids are too afraid to ask questions or ask questions and are denied answers because no one wants to have these conversations. So yeah, I think it's really important to have shows like this.
Levon is also, but I love Levon, so I'm always like, sprinkle. Okay, cool. Great, all right, what do you say?
We chose Spring Awakening because throughout this pandemic, was, as we're trying to figure out a project, I wanted to find something that I felt the restrictions placed on us because of the pandemic would enhance the storytelling and be a part of the storytelling and not just something that we had to place on top of it so that we could do something. You know what I mean? So because of the culture, or not the culture, but because of the story of Spring Awakening, that it's all about the repression of children and the repression of this society and culture that is like late 18th century Germany. I felt we could use the masks to help tell that story. And on top of that, we could then make the musical numbers a part of the concept of the show, because the numbers were written to be emotional expressions of whatever they're going through in the scenes, not necessarily like, oh, I'm not gonna like tell you story and song type situation that a lot of more traditional musicals do. They aren't really communicating with each other in the numbers. They're just emotional expressions. So that then allowed us to take the songs and put them into a very boldly theatrical setting and contrast that with the bleak kind of outdoor woodsy world of the story of the actual musical. So it felt like with all those boxes checked, it felt like we could do the project in a way that was artistically satisfying and also meet the restrictions placed on us because of the pandemic.
The most difficult number to choreograph was probably, well, I've only done 3 right now, so there's more coming that I don't really know for sure how they're gonna land. My jump was probably the one that I really wasn't exactly sure how to approach it at first, just due to the nature of the number. And in the original Broadway production, it was part of a scene. So and we took the number out of the scene in a way and kind of productionalized it a little bit. So it's changed the number I think itself was originally looked at, which is great, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but that was probably the most I don't say difficult, but just challenging. It was a little challenge to kind of figure that out. My favorite, probably my favorite number is probably Bitch of Living. I like the feel of the number, and I like the energy of the number. And I like the frustration that the number holds with the characters. I do like the song "My Junk." I think it's got some really nice melodic phrases in it. So, but I'd probably have to say my favorite to choreograph. I'd probably say maybe "Bitch of Living." There's a lot. I like all the numbers, for different reasons.
It's almost entirely a different job doing a show during COVID. And things that normally would take 10 seconds take 3 days. In a normal show, I would teach the music, the students would sing it, I could give them immediate feedback on what they need to fix, and then they would fix it 10 seconds. Now I teach it to them, they send me a recording the next day. The next day after that, I get a chance to listen to the recording and I give them feedback. The next day after that, maybe they get a chance to re-record it and fix it. So just the time scale is really expanded. And I have to trust them a lot more to make decisions, to be following the notation, to be listening to the tracks. There's a lot less, it feels a lot less personal. I feel this way just in general when you're interacting with people digitally through email, through Zoom. If you don't already have the in-person relationship established, it's a little bit more difficult. And I think the students have stepped up and they've done a great job of just jumping in and trusting me. But some of them I've barely interacted with in real life, only through Zoom. So our particular rules were no singing inside, unmasked, within any distance. So we decided to do everything online. So I've only worked with students over Zoom and with them sending me recordings. So just the biggest difference is the time scale, how much longer everything takes for me to give them feedback and for them to incorporate that feedback into another recording. And that's probably been the hardest thing, is just how long everything takes.
Well, obviously, wearing a mask is difficult, especially because acting, you sort of usually need the lower half of your face, but we're sort of playing with clear masks and, playing with doing our best with acting with our eyes. But also, like, the show really relies on, like touching and being around and touching people. There's literally a song called Touch Me. Um, so that's sort of been a challenge that we've sort of used in our favor, which is really exciting because we sort of play with what it would be like if all those things weren't possible. And like we use the mask as like a restriction, which is quite exciting and a very different way to do the show than it's ever been done before.
And personally, I feel like the way I relate to Mortz the most is he's a little bit of a klutz. He's a little a little clumsy, and I'm definitely not the most graceful person. I've been known to leave the house without my keys a couple of times, so I definitely relate to him that way. So yeah.
So there were a lot of procedures and protocols for us to do this. So because we're on campus for a good majority of the shoot, whenever we're on campus, we all have to be masked at all times, even if you are going to be further than the certain number of feet apart from each other. So that's step one. On top of it, because of the university's contact tracing, there are certain times where if a student comes into contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID, then they have to self-isolate and quarantine for anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. But beyond that, I mean, every prop, set piece, anything that is touched by an actor, a crew member, a creative team member is sanitized in between touching. We have to mop the floors pretty consistently to make sure everything's clean. And that's like a somewhat standard procedure when you're doing a musical, but even more so in this process because of the droplets and things. There are times, before rehearsal, sometimes we have to start rehearsal later so that there can be a 15-minute air purge in our rehearsal space, so that everything is as literally clean as possible, and as, I guess, pure as possible, so that we are as absolutely safe as we can be.
The one thing that this creates in filming a production is it extends the process a lot longer. And that's not easy for our schedule and everything like that. Because I mean, like this show normally would have rehearsed 4 weeks and performed, or 4 weeks with a tech and performed, or whatever like that. So the actors and everyone would have been involved in the project all of like maybe 6 weeks. But this is stretched across the entire semester because it has to be due to all of the filming and this, that, and the other, and then putting it together and editing and all that kind of jazz. So it just becomes a longer process with filming involved.
There are plenty of challenges that come with doing this. I mean, none of us have ever been in this situation before, obviously, so we're all sort of figuring it out, this uncharted territory. I'm sure a lot of people say the masks are a problem because you can't really see people's faces, but Michael's done a good job of incorporating the mask usage into like the storytelling of the show. The mask represents restriction, not having the ability to speak freely, and so we're using that and playing into it when we're doing these scenes because, that's half the issues. It's like people feel like they can't speak freely and openly in this world that the show takes place in. But yeah, I don't know, all these challenges, but I'm just happy to be doing it at all, honestly.
There are subtle things that you do when you're singing in a room with a group of people. You tune your voice to them, whether you even realize it or not. And without having those other voices in the room, you're left with trying to sing along to a piano track, or I provided guide tracks of me singing everything, but it's not the same as being in a room and hearing the full harmony and being able to listen to each other all at the same time. So a lot of it's trial and error. A lot of it, specifically for this show, I sang everyone's parts. Almost every part in the show, I recorded myself singing, except for the parts that were too low. And then the students sang along, but because it's pop rock, most of it is not too low because pop rock shows tend to have the boys singing quite high. So I recorded guide tracks for every part in the show, and then the students sang along with those. And still, even then, there were some times when we had to go back in and do a retake because it wasn't quite in tune, and it would have sounded in tune in the room with all the voices singing all together, and there's the air conditioner going, and you're not just listening just to that single voice, but the recorded medium really leaves you no room for error. It's very transparent. So any little spot that's out of tune, you're going to hear it. So they couldn't sing together on Zoom. You can't, because of the lag, you can't sing together on Zoom. So they were only ever singing by themselves, except for a couple of instances where we happen to have people that live together that sing a duet. Except for those instances, every single person recorded essentially in their bedroom, sitting in front of their computer, usually with a blanket over their head to get rid of the echo from their bedroom and the hardwood floors. And so you're asking singers to give you an in-tune, accurate, emotional performance under the most bizarre circumstances. It's a lot to ask. They rose to the occasion and they did a great job, but it's a very strange thing.
It has been one of the oddest rehearsal processes that I have ever been through, and I've been through a lot of weird rehearsal processes. It's difficult to, once when you're talking to actors, and we're talking about a lot of sensitive subjects, there are lots of adult themes, I guess, to talk about it globally in the show. And so to have those conversations when you can really only see the other person's eyes and you have no other indication about how they're feeling based on their facial expression or their mouth, or if they're smiling or not or whatever, it certainly was a challenge to even just talk about the show, let alone rehearse it in a way that was then ready for filming. Now, we did have to our advantage that we were going to be filming with masks on. Musical numbers, they have the clear masks, so that's a little bit different. But it's definitely a challenge to have half of your face cut off when communicating with actors and your collaborators.
I think it's so much fun to kind of combine film and theater. It's like my favorite combination, best of both worlds for me, because I love doing film. I really want to go into that world, but I also love theater, and so I don't have to lose either in this situation, which is so cool. I'm on stage with a bunch of my friends and we're doing all this awesome choreography, but then there's also a bunch of cameras around and we're also on an active film set. I think it's just so cool. And I know we do the numbers a million times, but I live for it. I think it's so much fun.
I think nowadays people prefer filmed things. I think people would rather get in their bed and be lazy and watch TV than they would, pay for a very expensive Broadway ticket or any show ticket. So I think this is exciting because it's sort of a balance between the two, because I think we're trying to make it as theatrical an experience as possible, but also keep it film friendly and camera friendly. And I think it's cool because obviously what's exciting about theater is you get to see a different production every time. No one sees the same show twice because no one's going to do anything exactly the same for each show, but they will for this. And I think it's cool that we get to, document this, which you wouldn't really get to do in regular theater. And especially filmed, usually I think when you film theater, you just have one camera just sort of on a live production of it, nothing too fancy, but this one's actually lots of angles, we're getting correct take, it feels like a movie, but it's theater, so that's cool.
And a memorable moment, last weekend we were filming a scene with the 4 girls that we were walking around the woods in this big grassy hill, and afterwards we had some time and we asked Michael if we could run up on the hill with him and spin around we were in The Sound of Music. And so we ran up together and just screamed and laughed and ran around. It was so much fun. I have a video of it if you want to see it. It's pretty epic. We're in these big skirts. It's so much fun. So yeah, that's definitely a memorable moment for sure.
Has been a great experimental process of figuring out what works in COVID or doing a musical and what doesn't. I will say going forward, this has been an awesome experience, but hopefully things will go back to normal here soon and we'll be able to perform for live audiences again without the masks. Because at the end of the day, the industry, it's really hard to do this during COVID because we can't have large gatherings of people, and that's really what we're meant to do, is be out there in front of people. So hopefully things will go back to normal, but if not, this was a great substitution and a way to do things in a time where not a lot of art is possible.
I've worked very little in film comparatively to my theater experience, as have all the actors. I mean, they're working to get their BFA in musical theater, not in film acting. So we've had to really pare back a lot of our natural instincts and say, okay, yeah, on stage we have, you know, like, oh, we're stage whispering, and like everyone understands that this means we're whispering, even though everyone can still hear us. But in film, that just sounds like fake bullshit. So it's about taking those instincts and then translating them back to how we actually act in the real world, which is surprisingly difficult when your training, all your experience, it like gets you into a certain vocabulary that you can't really use, at least not in the same way that we would use it normally. So it has been a fascinating process in that respect, and I think hugely educational for both even myself as the professional in this situation, but also for the young artists. I think that we are going to see these technologies and things utilized beyond this pandemic. Not only does it democratize access to the art that we're creating, but it also is an entirely new landscape in which to create that in many ways is a lot less risky and a lot less cost prohibitive in a lot of ways. And I think while the magic of live theater will never be replaced, we will have to adapt and transform in a digital world so that people continue to value the experience of live theater.
God, I dreamed there was an angel who could hear me through the wall. As I cried out like in Latin, this is so not life at all. Got me out of this nightmare, then I heard her silver call. She said, just give it time, kid, I come to one and all. She said, give me that hand, please, and the itch you can't control. Let me teach you how to handle all the sadness in your soul. We'll work that silver magic, then we'll aim it at the wall. She said, love may make you blind, kid, but I wouldn't mind at all. It's the bitch of living, bitch, just a bitch. Nothing but your hand, just a bitch, yeah. Just the bitch of living as someone you can't stand. See, each night it's like fantastic, tossing, turning without rest. Cause my days at the piano with my teacher and impress. And the music's like the one thing I can't even get it all. And those breasts, I'm please just let those apples fall. It's the bitch of living, bitch, nothing going on, nothing going on. Just the bitch of living, asking what went wrong. Do they think we want this? Oh, who knows? See, they're showering in gym class.
Bobby Mailer, he's the best. Looks so nasty in those khakis.
God, my whole life's like some test.
Then there's Mariana Wheelan, as if she'd return my call.
It's like just kiss some ass, man. Then you can screw 'em all. It's the bitch of the living.
It's the bitch of living,
And living in your head.
in your head. It's the bitch
Of the living and sensing God is dead.
It's the bitch of living.
You watch me, just watch me.
I'm trying to get ahead.
I'm calling in one day.
It's the bitch of living,
Just getting out of bed.
It's the bitch of living, 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 getting what you get. Just the bitch of living,
And knowing this is it.
God, is this it? This can't be it. Oh God, what a bitch.